What's up? What's up? What's up, Elementals? It is the Four Elements United. I will be your illustrious host tonight, and of course, I'm your boy Fire.
Earth.
Water.
And I win.
Sookie here. Somebody said on last week's show that, oh snap, the most attached element is going to be doing a show on attachment, and I couldn't even. I had no comeback, no rebuttal to that comment because I think my brothers would agree that I'm arguably the most attached of the four of us, and I've got good reason. At least that's my story. And so before we
Hold
even,
on, I thought I was the most attached. What happened there?
yeah, it all depends. Flip a coin, bro.
Oh, it depends on the day
It depends on the day, man,
and the subject.
and the subject. Exactly right. Exactly right. I think overall, in aggregate, you're the most attached to the show, to the marketing strategy, clickbait, the diaspora, nuclear families in the community. I mean,
For the people, it's all about the people.
My dog Huey Newton. We love you though, man. We love you. Um, so I'm gonna grab before we dive in because I think it's good for us to tackle unpack attachment, and then it will also be good for us should the conversation bear it for us to take a look at detachment. I want to reframe and just represent all of the elementals and everybody who rocks with us. Even before I go there, just shout out to y'all. Thank you. This is definitely a hobby for us, but this is something that we did before years past and was rebirthed out of the demand that we felt in the space that we call conscious masculinity. And for those of you who've been rocking with us from the very beginning, from the blog talk radio days, or those of you who joined us since we relaunched on YouTube and stream live on Facebook, and for those of you who just came on board in the last couple of episodes, we sincerely, from the bottom of our hearts, appreciate you. We don't take this hour and some change that you give us lightly.
Yeah, don't forget the bandwagon person who this is their first, this is their first one. They're like, yo, I knew these dudes like, back in the 90s or whatever. We want the bandwagon people too. So we will take the bandwagoners.
We'll take it. Yeah. So I'm gonna go get us the definition of attachment, and then I'll kind of frame it up. And then I'm it's customary for me to set it off, but I want to hear from my brothers on this. And I really can't wait to have a further conversation with my brother Earth on attachment because his perspective is so unique. I'm looking forward to water, the transparent water, vulnerable water tonight. I'm also looking forward to transparent and vulnerable when tonight. So hopefully we get that. With that being said, let me go over to the definition. There are a few definitions according to Oxford. Okay. I'm not going to read them all because two of the three that I'm looking at are really irrelevant. And so I'm going to read the second definition. And the second definition simply states that attachment is affection, fondness, or sympathy for someone or something. I'm going to say it again. Attachment is affection, fondness, or sympathy for someone or something. And the little, use it in a sentence. It says she felt a sentimental attachment to the place. Okay, all right. So let's go. Attachment, fellas. Not what you hear when you hear attachment, but using that definition. All right, using that definition, not your own interpretation, because we got off on that last time. At least I did. I certainly got off in my interpretation of what the question was, and not just the question on its head. I brought a lot of meaning to it. So to avoid that in this conversation, connection, fondness, sympathy for someone, affection for someone or something. When you process it in that context, what do you hear? Earth. Oh yeah, straight to the chief.
So, if I use that definition as it is, then do I have fondness for people? Absolutely. Affection, yes. Sympathy, yes. So, based on that definition, I do have attachments based on that definition.
Yeah. Yeah. How about you? Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. Is that the pin drop?
No. Because if you look at the word attached, then I would argue no. But based on the definition of attachments, yeah, I have that.
Okay.
I have that. Let me. I have that, and so when I think about it, I read the definition also before we got started. So based on definition, yes, I have attachments,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not attached to being attached to it. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So if something happened, will there be some emotion that arises? Yeah, but I choose the emotion. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So if it's heartbreak, you can choose heartbreak, but it takes let me tell you something. It takes something to choose heartbreak or not. It's easy to choose a heartbreak, but if you choose not to, it really takes something.
Yeah.
To say this is not how I'm gonna exist, and you're able to live life powerfully.
I think it's important to just unpack that a little bit because here's the thing I realize. Wynn always asks us, do we rewatch the show? Like, have you guys watched the show? And typically our response is, man, we did the show. We was in the show, bro. We don't have time to watch the show, do the pre-show, do the hour post-show call. Like, it's too much, bro. The answer is no. So I watched the show. And when I watched the show, what I noticed is that when we talk to each other, even though we have the elementals, it's part of the conversation. When we talk to each other, because we've talked to each other literally for probably over 10,000 hours over the last 12 years, certain things are just known. Certain things are understood. What's understood doesn't need to be said, spoken. But I realized that we have an audience that we call the elementals, that we say some stuff and we don't necessarily unpack what it means. And to the untrained ear, it has it lands a whole different way that we take for granted sometimes. And so when you say, based on the definition, yes, I have attachment, and I'm not attached to being attached, and I get to choose my emotion. The thing that I think that I want to highlight is the fact that there's an awareness that attachment is occurring. Number one. There's also awareness of the emotion that attachment yields inside of you. Because if you don't have the awareness that heartbreak, disappointment, fear, anxiety, insert whatever emotion, anger, is not you. There's no distance between the emotion itself and who you actually are, then you have no access to the choice as to whether or not to be it in that moment. If you follow me, elements, just say, hey, we with you, fire, we with you. Just say we with you so I can move on. If you're not with me, I'll stay there. But if you're with me, if you're hearing what I'm saying, if you're seeing what I'm saying, that there's awareness in the fact that I am or am not attached. And there's also awareness in the fact that, thank you, Sarah, that I am not my emotions. However, I have emotions. And what I'm experiencing right now is blank. Pissed off, fear, anxiety, worry, guilt, doubt, shame, etc. You name it. Love, power, peace, possibility, you name it, whatever you're feeling. And then therefore you get present to the distinction choice. I can choose that. Now, on that note, Earth, before we go to water, what drives whether or not you choose to be attached to being attached? First part. And second part is whether or not you choose the emotion that you're experiencing in your body. What drives those choices?
Circumstance and just self-awareness. Because like you described it perfectly. when I remember the first time I became present to choosing an emotion. I literally sat there and this guy, it's so long ago, I don't remember what the guy was doing. And then I was just sitting there and I was like, what? And I remember like literally thinking to myself, should I get upset or should not? Literally. And then I said, you know what? I am, because something needs to be said, but it needs to be said in a way that's forceful. So then I allowed myself to become angry in that moment, and I went off. And the moment I finished saying what I was saying, it was like a light switch, and it happened so quick. It actually scared me. I was like, "Whoa, wait, what just happened?" I literally turned an emotion on and literally turned it off, and I was like, "Whoa!" So we actually do have full control over our responses, our emotions, the impact. We have full control over all of that. Yeah. And from that day forward, I was like, whoa, this is how I'm going to move forward.
Yeah. Wow. And then when you were speaking, I just got like, I saw literally like this meter, right? Like emotions and choosing emotions is not like black and white or hot and cold. Like if we're present to it, we understand that there is a continuum or intensity level, right? Like I could choose to be blackout mad, or I could choose to be like mad enough so that they know that I'm not playing. Right. Like there's levels or you know, like a meter of intensity of which you can decide or choose, I should say, choose to be and exude and exhibit the traits of that emotion in real time. Like it's completely up to you.
Yes, 100%. And when I turned it off, I literally went back to the state I was in before he even showed up. Did whatever he did, literally. And that's the thing that made me say, whoa, wait a minute. I was like, I never experienced that before. So yeah.
That's wild, man. That to me, that's powerful. Water, I'm gonna represent you, man. I know you got adult ADD, and it's one of your greatest gifts.
Meaning, what his interpretation is for the elementals is that, like, I think these guys are pretty boring because they go on and on. Like, we're 12 and a half minutes, you know, into the show, and you know, like I heard about 30 seconds of good content there, but we're gonna spice it up. We're gonna spice it up. So, all right. So let me hear the definition again.
The definition: affection, fondness, or sympathy for someone or something.
Well, let me just say this. Like, I did not really need to hear the definition, because I'm going to tell you that if Earth says yes, based upon that definition, he has attachments, then the other three of us, it's a definite yes. So we don't have to really go around. Maybe Wynn's going to be like, nah, man, based upon that definition, nah, I got none of that going on. Look at him. You know, he's ready to do that. And I like the way that Earth described his choice of emotion. You know, I am I'd say an intermediate with that skill. I mean, you know, I'm past a beginner with that skill, but I am not advanced. This guy is advanced with that skill. So I would say for me, more so what happens is that I do have that ability to choose not to allow certain emotions to run through me, meaning just to be in the moment, right? Because I can feel myself starting to tense up. I can feel myself starting to, you know, get impatient, or I don't know, get sad, or any other emotion that may come up in my life in any given day. So I do experience that sometimes.
Yeah.
And then at other times, I am like water boiling over, meaning that, like, basically just boiling water and it boils out of the pot. Okay. And sometimes that just happens with me. However, what I think that I'm pretty advanced at is coming back to center, as we know the term, coming back to nothing, and then coming back to if I made a mess, if water boils over and makes a mess on the floor, water comes back to clean it up. So water will come back and say, hey, look, I was really a jerk in that situation, or hey, that was rude, or hey, that was I didn't I wasn't doing my best in that situation. I could have done better. So to me, I think that it's one level to say, hey, I have complete and utter control of like my emotional choices. And it's another level to say, hey, it's okay. Like, I'm not perfect. I'm not trying to be perfect. I'm not a robot. Sometimes I experience emotions, and it's okay for me to allow that to trigger me, get unconscious, unpresent, whatever it is, and then come back and come back, right? Come back to being water. Get out of that, whatever that state was, come back to being water. So that's what it is for me.
Water, what when you think about it, when you think about sympathy, fondness, affection towards something or someone in your life, what is like when you look at how attached you are, the whole world of attachment, what are you most attached to? Would you say what you're most attached to? Or where the majority of your attachment lies? That's something that's really important to you.
I'll give a real one. Okay. This is gonna make the elements bust out laughing. I'm attached to you guys not getting us canceled. Okay. We talked about that. Okay. And this is a real, so I want to keep it real for the elementals so that we're like really being transparent instead of just, something's perfect or whatever. Give them a look behind the curtain. But, I'm really attached to us. Like, so anyone, like all the elementals who come, the regulars, they know that I'm the one, I'm the one making sure that we stay safe for work. Okay. Because there are some of us who actually have careers that, like there's a rabbit hole. The internet is a rabbit hole, and one word sometimes can ruin people's whole entire lives. We see it all the time. We see it happen so often or whatnot. So one of my attachments is that we actually keep it clean so we don't get canceled. But another is that when we very first started doing this, another attachment is that that I have is that when we very first started this, Earth said something really powerful that I felt like was very powerful. And he said that young people will look at us and view us as elders. And I never really considered myself an elder. I'm like, dude, an elder, bro. I don't feel, bro. When I look in the mirror, I don't see myself. I don't see an elder in the mirror. I see, a young dude, but maybe that's just me. Maybe I need to let it go. Maybe I need to let it go. However, really what I heard is that basically we are role models, kind of translated to me, and people will look up to us. And so I think that part of it too is that we want to present ourselves in a way that, let's face it, that black men aren't typically portrayed in the popular media or whatnot. So that's another attachment that I have. And here's a funny comment that, based upon what I said. Go ahead, Fire. You want to read that, Fire. Go ahead.
Water is HR. Yes, he is the compliance officer for sure.
I am. So Fire already has an infraction during this call or whatever. So we're gonna talk about that in your review. In your 1-on-1.
Dang! Don't put me on the pit.
Yes, performance improvement, baby. We gotta. Yeah. So that I would say that those are some of my attachments or whatnot.
Word. All right. So to Water's point, and the point is that if Earth's attached, if Earth has attachment, we all possess attachment. So that question would be a little redundant at this point in the call. When I'm gonna ask you the same question as I asked Water, though, when you look at your world of attachment, affection, sympathy for something or someone, fondness. What are your biggest attachments and why?
So the answer to the first question is yes, I am attached. And I'm also attached to being detached.
Mm, okay. Tell me.
And going to your latter question, one of the things that I have been attached to, and I think I still am attached to it in a particular degree, but I'm a little bit more elevated now. But I have been attached to money. I have been attached to success and winning in business. And like I told you guys in a previous episode, when my mother told me that I couldn't go to the high school that I wanted to go to because it cost money, it started a whole domino effect of events in my life. And ever since then, I've been uh, attached to money, attached to winning, and it has driven me in most of my decisions. Like, it shows up in a degree that I got in finance. It shows up in my career, what I chose to do. It shows up every day, and I got like tunnel vision. I have ruined relationships or disregarded people, for sure,
Yeah,
because of
yeah.
my tunnel vision.
I'm one of those he's disregarded. But we're gonna have a whole show on that, Wayne. We're gonna have a whole show on that.
Exactly.
Wow. Um, I got so much in my head right now because I want to dive deeper with you, Wayne, especially around. I know the story of not being able to get into this. You shared the story with us on this platform
Hmm.
about not being able to afford the school that you wanted to get into. Um, and you say I have an attachment to money. That was the root of it. But
Well,
but
it may have started before that, but that was the big thing that tipped the scale and
yeah,
had me be a particular way for sure.
got you, got you. Hmm.
I was telling the elders the other day, man, that it had me be a lone wolf. And one of the things that I got out of the workshop that we did together was that being that way actually impeded me from succeeding because success and winning in business actually takes collaboration and teamwork. It takes relationships, real deep relationships to get you to where you actually really ultimately want to go. And I had to learn that through life. When you're 20 years old, when you're 30 years old, you rocking and rolling, just doing your thing. And then the next thing you know, you're not necessarily at the level that you want to be, and you realize, man, Jeff Bezos, Tim Cook, all these guys at Facebook, Apple, and Goldman Sachs, all these guys that actually won that I admire, they actually did it with collaboration, cooperation with other people. They got it with relationships. They didn't do it alone. And so I had to make an amendment to my way of being and how I saw things.
That's perfect because I think as the elementals are watching and hopefully elementals, you make it a practice, especially on this platform, on this show in particular, to hear, process, and what you're naturally going to do is process it against your own understanding, a reference point. That's like, human nature. And then you try to see yourself inside of the share. You said something, when that I think occurs more often than people would like to admit that we kill people off as a result of an attachment to something or someone else.
Well, I think a lot of us are attached to a trauma, one incident, two incidents, three incidents, and that's why I was sharing a couple of weeks ago is that when we think about the aggregate of life, when we think about how many people are in the world, it's ridiculous to attach ourselves to one incident to one person, to one relationship, or even a handful, because it's not fully representative of the full scope of life. And that impedes us in life. And we have to knock it off and get off of that and realize that there's more people, more opportunities to do and have what we want. And we need to just get after it. Dust your shoulders off, get back to center, and get after it. You on mute, Fire.
Okay, somebody muted me. Thank you for the mute and the unmute. I what I just got present to Earth is the reality that attachment, attached, and attach similar, but there's some slight nuances in all those iterations. You know what I'm saying? I love to tell you before the show I did hours of research, but I actually have a job and a life and vacation and kids and all kinds of stuff. But as Wynn is talking, I'm like, wait a minute, right? Because everybody here, as you can see, elementals agree that we are in possession of attachment in our lives, something that we have sympathy for, fondness, etc., and so forth. When we talk about when we look at attach, to go to the root itself, fasten, join. This is according to Oxford, same source, to fasten or join. Number 2, attribute importance or value to. And I think that was the intent of this conversation, or what we thought attachment was. We look at attachment like we have sympathy and fondness towards a bunch of things, but when we talk about associating value, and one of the examples is great importance attaches to the family role. He doesn't attach too much to importance or radical ideas like that. That's the kind of attachment that we wanted to talk about. Sorry about that. Speaking of family values, my daughter calling me. I got to go pick up my daughter, guys. So I'm gonna go ahead and wrap the show up. A little early. I'm kidding. She gets off at 6:30. She gets off at 6:30. But when we talk about attachment in relationships specifically, all right, Earth, giving your way of being with attachment, have you ever been told in the context of a relationship, I don't feel like you're invested or as invested, or I feel like I'm missing something from you from an emotional perspective? In other words, you're not attached. I don't feel like you're attached enough, or anything like that.
I would have to say yes, and it's all based upon my reaction to things. Something may happen. So what is this instance? So I remember when I was married. What happened? There was something we purchased a home, and there was something wrong with the driveway. Right, it had cracks, and I was like, okay. And so some other things wrong with it also. So my ex-wife, she was like really irritated by it. She was just reacting however she was reacting, right? Like it was a state of emergency. Something needed to happen like now, today. And I said, okay, I'll take care of that. And she said, so what are you going to say? I said, we're just going to talk to the guy, say this doesn't work, that doesn't work, and have him fix it. No, you need to let him have. Like, she was really telling me, like, I need to be more emotional in my conversation with them, more spirited in my conversation with them. And I was like, why? And she was upset. She's like, you act like you just don't care. It's like, I do care. If I didn't care, I wouldn't handle it, but I'm going to handle it in the way that I don't need to react in a certain way or respond in a certain way. So yeah, I've been told that before. It's always because of how I respond to things.
Right.
It's not how whomever I'm dating would respond to it. Like it's a state of emergency. It's like, nah, it's actually not. So yeah.
Yeah, you and I are pretty much alike in that sense. Like people expect us to act in a manner in which they would respond. So they attach to their expectation. And they don't allow us to be who we are. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I have a real life example of that one that abruptly terminated a relationship, a long term relationship, where exactly what Earth was saying. Um, okay, so exactly what Earth and Wind are saying, right? Um, and Wynn said this. I think Wynn said this. Yeah, Wynn, you said this. He said that with men, we have two states. We're either at war or we're at peace.
Mm.
And for me, I really felt I really felt that what Wynn said. And so here I am. A certain incident happened, and I don't want to give too many specifics because this is just there's someone else involved here, right? So I don't want to. I want to make sure I'm responsible for what I do share, but I'll share what was going on with me from my perspective. So an incident happened, and my girlfriend at the time that I was dating, we had been in a long term relationship, and um, she felt like I should have done more, right? And so, but it was partly around a very minor procedure that she could have driven home from, like she could have driven home from this procedure. And I told her, no, you don't need to do that. Like something happens, then you're going to be on the hook for it because they told you not to drive home, but it's something where like you're awake. They kind of like it was a dental procedure or whatever. So, like we take care of it, but she felt like I should have done more. And, I was like, hey, listen, let's talk about the right now. You just had the surgery yesterday. You're still, you're not feeling well. So let's wait until you're feeling well, because I didn't want to get into a full blown argument while she's not feeling well. Right. I felt like that's the least that I could do is I know me, if I were in that position, I would want somebody to be like, yo, chill. Let me get better. And then let's go toe to toe, or let's, at least work it out. Right. Because I wasn't even trying to argue about it. I was like, hey, let's just handle it later. So I kind of kept that same disposition and the same demeanor. I was like, hey, and I think I was just a little too cool about it. Right. Like, because sometimes when someone is upset and you're just like, hey, you know what? Hey, let's make sure right now is not a good time. Like, I know that you're upset, so let's basically put that on the table at least until tomorrow, right? Let's sleep on it or something like that. And it just really escalated the situation way more than even in retrospect. Now that I look at it years later, like to me, it just did not need to escalate up to that, up to a 10, right? And through the escalation, and I think this is probably what just made it worse. And this is exactly what fire is actually, because I heard this from this person of like, hey, you seem like you don't really care, when like I wasn't getting like, super animated about things that I felt like, hey, look, we just don't need to argue about this, right? I don't want to argue. I don't want to be at war with my lady, right? I want to be at peace with my lady. So only time I'm going to be in when I want to go to war is when I really feel like, hey, this is something super, like there's an importance, right? I'm assigning an important meaning to it. But to me, this was just like, hey, look, you're right. I didn't do that. And, like, let's hash out the details when you're feeling better, because you're taking meds and, like you're just, anybody who's taking medicine, for pain, like you're a little inebriated, and just like, let's take the time. And so I would say that exactly that situation happened to me, Fire, where it was like, and in that conversation, she actually told me, she's like, it's just like you don't care. And I was like, I do care. And I was saying, hey, however, you just like, you're not feeling well. So let's wait and let's let the conversation happen later. So I think that what earth and wind are describing is a real thing. And I think the situation that I just described happens very, very frequently for people at all different levels of relationships. And it's quite unfortunate. It's quite unfortunate because it's one of those things where people want you to be attached to the same thing they're attached to. And if they're not, it's almost like that's not love if you're not attached to what I'm not attached to. I think that was what my situation kind of led me to see or feel.
But here's a primitive fact that we often forget. And this is the fact. Men are different than women. Men respond differently than women. And if we actually accept that fact, our relationships will be so much better. It's about acceptance.
Man, that's a word there. And with that being said, to Walter's point, if somebody can grab Danny Thomas's most recent comment at 5:35. I mean, this is coming from Sister Danny Thomas. We want y'all to match energy. Said another way, we want y'all to behave like we behave.
Exactly.
When you feel a certain way.
Exactly.
And to your point, when fundamentally, if we don't understand each other's nuances and differences and accept those differences, we'll continue to be at odds and think and feel like, well, he doesn't love me enough because he doesn't irk out, or he doesn't cry when I cry. Or
he doesn't slam doors. He doesn't like. And what's not funny? What's not funny is like some women are like, he doesn't beat me, which is like not funny, right? It's really, really not funny. But like it really goes to that level. And so look, Danny, you want us to match your energy, but like I'm not putting hands on a woman. So sometimes that is literally the energy that's out there. And again, as Wynn said, fundamentally, men, we don't want to be at war with our lady. That's not why we get in relationships.
Not only that, but that same sentiment had Will Smith walk on stage and smack Chris Rock. Yeah. That's the same sentiment that has Black men killed each and every day because of some woman or some incident that was very small, very petty, and insignificant, that rose and got exacerbated to a high extent and put people's lives in jeopardy. And back in the 60s, back in slavery, back in Jim Crow, we understood that those incidences like that didn't rise to the occasion to cause us to just immediately react, because we knew that it was a life or death situation. It could be a life or death situation.
Yeah.
So we have to protect one another,
right,
and respect one another, and like I said, accept one another. Otherwise, we put each other in bad positions, in very dangerous situations. You know, I see it each and every day. Whether I'm in Brooklyn, whether I'm in Harlem, whether I'm in Chicago, whether I'm in Atlanta, whether I'm in LA, these things are life and death situations. And we can't necessarily, as men, just simply match energy just for energy's sake. We have to be very prudent and wise in how we compose ourselves and how we respond and act and behave and walk in this life, because we can lose our life, or we will, do some damage to somebody else. And none of us want to be incarcerated, right? So it's serious. We just can't just be out here willy-nilly, just emotional.
Agree.
Yeah, so I'm going to add something.
Go ahead, Eric.
This is the potential danger to matching energy. It's the response. When I'm upset, I may respond differently than when water is upset, or when wind is upset, or when fire is upset. So if we match energies, like, do you really know what you're gonna get when that energy is matched? That's the potential danger. You could get, when I'm upset, I give you some warnings, like, hey, we need to shut this down. That's how you know that I'm getting upset. And other people, they're just like 0 to 100 in like a tenth of a second. And so that's the potential danger in that is when you match, what's the response? So yeah, I just wanted to add that.
You're on mute, brother.
To that point, Earth, can we grab real quick the brother James Archangel Raphael's comment? Brother James, welcome back, man. We haven't heard from you in a minute, bro. I know you probably still been watching, but I haven't seen you comment in a while. Welcome back, my good brother. So, what James this was when was speaking. He said we had honor, and the piggyback what Earth is saying in terms of the level of consciousness, understanding what's required in this moment of time, the consequences of me matching this energy, having that internal conversation in a matter of seconds. It's amazing that you associate honor or being honorable with consciousness, and that's why I wanted to pull your comment to the forefront. So thank you for that. Can we grab Courtney Butler's comment as a solution? So Courtney Butler on Facebook says, I'm saying Courtney Butler like I don't know who she is.
Of course. Hey, look, if that comment didn't get pulled, there was going to be a serious problem. There was going to be some attachments. There was going to be some attachments to be discussed.
By the way, just for the record, I am attached to my cupcakes. That's all I'm going to say.
Still ain't got them joints. Oh man. So Courtney Butler says from this cover from Facebook, one thing that also works is asking. She's upstairs cracking up, bro. Like she's cracking up. How can I respond to the situation that would make you feel like I care, or saying how you feel? I care about the situation, but I'm not prepared to discuss it, and I need you to respect that. That's kind of what Water was.
That's what I was. That's what I was saying. So just so you know, Courtney Butler from Facebook, you anonymous person. That's what happened. The second part of your question is what happened, and it didn't work, unfortunately.
It didn't work.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't. I mean, in retrospect, it works for women, but in the heat of the moment, women get mad and upset. So I mean, you can't win for losing, right?
Right.
I mean, of course. Okay, so let's be clear. We're not saying all women. Okay, so we're let's not go down that rabbit hole, right? I mean, it's certain people, right? Because I mean, there's plenty of men who do the same thing, right? So many. I think someone in the comments said that they're more level-headed than their husband. So I mean, let's make sure that we're in my situation. Okay, I'm a man and I date women. In my situation, that's what I experienced or whatever. But we want to make sure that we're not like trying to point the finger saying that, yo, man, women, y'all just like can't get your emotions right.
Yeah, to that point.
I hope women don't think that I'm beating up on them, because that's not the case.
Bro, you don't hear yourself.
Where loves the women.
I had to come clean up your messes, bro. Like you don't hear yourself. Sometimes you just you get attached.
I just say it like it is.
You just start speaking it. You're not hearing it. We're hearing it. Yeah, exactly.
Yo,
streams of unconsciousness are flowing, bro. So we want to.
Everybody knows that I'm the teddy bear. I'm the Mr. Lover guy.
All right, cool.
Tiffany bailed you out, man. Let's grab Tiffany's comment on that note, Water. Tiffany Hunt.
This last one, the very last one.
Nah, she was above at 539. She said,
"Oh, okay.
Here we go." So here you have a wife who says, "I completely understand where Earth and Water are coming from. I am more cool-headed than my husband. I enjoy peace as well when I don't like all of the overly emotional hype. Let's solve the problem." Here you have a pragmatic, level-headed, logical, rational woman.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Exactly.
And let me say this too. Like, there's a time for conflict. There's a time where you have to just get after it and get to it and just hash it out. Because on the other side, something beautiful could come after that.
Yeah.
But you know, every man, every woman has to weigh that, and you have to weigh it really quickly. There's a book that Malcolm Gladwell has called Blink. It talks about quick decisions. I mean, as a black man, we have to make quick decisions because again, it could be life or death. It could be our jobs on the line. It could be, you know, money on the line. It's just, you know, it's real serious for us.
When you make a great point, water's gonna mess with you. You know, that's what water does.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, you know, I
So,
take it all with a grain of salt.
oh no, it's all good. It's all in good fun. So happy coming through water at 541. To actually to Wynn's point, had this to say. Five. Oh, it says 541 on my side, so it's what 841 on your side. Sorry about that. Happy coming through. It starts off. I just saw someone.
Where is it?
At 841. He says I just saw some. There we
Okay.
go. Boom.
Oops.
So to that snap judgment in the world we live in and some of the realities of being a black man, I just saw someone get stabbed because his female partner went off without knowing the whole situation. And he pulled out a knife and stabbed someone. And the three comments below that, he says, this happened on the bus. Public transportation in the matter of seconds.
Yeah.
Matching her energy. Didn't even have a full context. Like this happens in our communities every day. And without the ability to distance yourself, without the distinction attachment or being attached, you don't even like that's not an everyday conversation. We go about life thinking that this is just the way it is. This is just the way I am. Like I don't have any say in the matter. It just happens. What was I supposed to do? And without the awareness and distinction, there can't be any ownership and there can't be any choice, like I said earlier. So, man, this is
Comments are getting good. Like,
Yeah. I mean, you guys get on me all the time for being like stoic, right? And calm and relaxed and detached.
nah,
But
that's not it. No,
you know,
don't try
no,
that.
no.
Bro,
This is it.
I will destroy
This
you
is
on
it. No, I don't
live
care.
internet, dude.
Let's
Bro,
do it
don't do
then.
that. No,
Let's
we're
do
not
it
gonna do
then.
that. We're gonna stick to this.
Exactly.
But if you want to do it,
my-
I will get you. I'll get a whole show on you, bro. Like, are you really gonna try that?
We could do it. We could do it. My point is that black men are raised to be suppressed because of the experiences that they have in life. And that's the reason why we're not in mass very good communicators. Because we had to make sure that we came home at night or we didn't get involved in some type of violent altercation. And it's passed on from generation to generation to generation. And I'm not saying all black men, but I'm talking about quite a substantial amount. And it's a very serious conversation that we should have one day.
Indeed. Fire.
You complete, Win?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. Yo, so we got a question from Return and Rise. Got a question. So I want to hear how a woman is supposed to respond to a man who has certain attachments to how she should respond emotionally. A man who is uncomfortable with her silence. A man who needs emotional validation. A man who wants a woman to communicate fully her feelings without having made it clear either that he is actually digging her. I added the actual part, but yeah, like that's a loaded question. Return and Rise. Guys, what you think? Like, how is a woman supposed to respond to a man who has an attachment to how she should respond emotionally? The same man is uncomfortable with her silence. And he needs emotional validation of his own. He wants a woman to communicate her feelings without having made it clear that he's even feeling her. I would say Return and Rise because I got a lot of single sisters. This is my single sisters. If y'all feeling what Return and Rise just said, just go ahead and say Amen. Return and Rise because you've experienced this as a single person, right? There go Danny. Great question, sis. You've experienced this. This is a real occurrence for women, for single women. How's a woman supposed to respond to that, man? For me, I'm like, she's supposed to respond to that man with a conversation, right? Right. Like women, again, guys, I'm married, so keep that in mind. My context is that of a married man for like 20 years. So I hear this a lot from my sister. So it must be a thing that dudes are actually courting women whilst not letting them know how they actually feel about them with words. But there's these expectations for how the woman should or shouldn't behave. And so my response to that is just simple. Like I'm like, just have the conversation. What kind of dude is not as unwilling to have this conversation? I don't know. Maybe y'all have a better.
Yeah, you got to break the ice. I mean, obviously you like him too, right? So you got to break the ice. And if you have an admiration of that person, then it shouldn't be a problem with expressing that. And then, if you know that he has some type of hang up about it or some type of, obviously has some type of trauma, some type of previous experience that impedes him from expressing himself emotionally, you're the gateway for that. I mean, especially if you see that.
She goes deeper. And this is, I think this last comment right here really makes clear what Return and Rise is after. She says, this goes into a deeper convo really about how does a woman express her interest in a man without appearing thirsty? It seems men have shifted from chasing to wanting to be chased.
So a conversation doesn't reflect being thirsty.
Earth. I got something about Earth. Go ahead, bro. Get in there.
You on mute, bro?
I got you unmuted now. Go ahead, bro.
Okay. No, I'm agreeing with Fies. My thing is in conversation. Whenever you're speaking to anyone, and this is something that I had to learn. Always be clear about the intent of the conversation. If there's uncertainty there, get clear about, okay, let me, and you can even parrot what the person is saying to get clarity. And just kind of, if I'm in a long conversation, sometimes I will say, okay, give me 1 second. And I will actually repeat what the person said to make sure that we're on the same track. Because they may be saying one thing, and then when you repeat it to the person, they will say, no. That's actually not what I'm saying. I am saying this, and this. And it's just engaging the person in the conversation and making sure that you're certain about, okay, exactly what is being communicated or being attempted to be communicated, from the person. And that's how you become very engaged in the conversation. That's how you get like 100% clarity on exactly what the person's intentions are. Because when you repeat something to someone and they think about it, say, no, actually that's not what I'm saying. I am actually saying I want to take you out. But they may have said, oh, so what are you doing Friday? And that's how they're expressing, I want to take you out. But you say, well, so you just want to know what I'm doing on Friday? And I said, no, well, actually, I want to take you out and make plans, and they'll actually go into detail when you do that. So that's what I would suggest. It's just being able to communicate. That's all, effectively.
So then, I'll just add my little 2 cents. I've never been married, but Fire, he's an old school guy. I'm more old school. So look, if a guy hasn't made it clear that he's digging you, then you need to move on. Like I don't know what Earth and Wind are talking about, but that's just like I'm the guy that'll pick up a woman in the grocery store. Like I'll just roll up on her or whatever. But that's how I do things. right? And so you're not going to be wondering if I'm digging you. It ain't happening. That's all I got. I mean, the rest of it to me is like, utter nonsense, because you don't need to have a communication. You don't need to communicate with someone who you're not clear if they're digging you. It should be clear to you. And if it's not, then it's just not.
Some men express things with words. Some men express things with actions. Some men express things with both.
Yeah, but she's asking to how to know. So either they're going to say it or they're going to do it. But if they do neither, then it's neither.
I do want to touch on her. This last comment of yours, return to rise, is clear. But you said like, how does a woman express her interest without appearing thirsty? And then you also said that it seemed, I'm paraphrasing, it seems as though today's man has a desire to be chased. And in my listening of that, it's like women traditionally are courted and chased. You have an experience where you've may run across some brothers who have come across to you like they want to be chased. Like they show you some interest and they try to flip it and play a game, try to get you to chase them, right? So do something to get you hooked and then stop returning your text messages in a timely fashion. And there's a lot of games being played out there. To your first comment about appearing thirsty, I think, and guys, I'd love to hear your opinions as men. As a man, I want to know that who, if I'm single, whoever I'm pursuing is interested in me. And I'm gonna keep it a buck. If you show me too much interest, if I'm being honest, if you show me too much interest or it's too easy or you're too available, and this is why people play games, but I'm being honest, I like to hunt. I like to hunt. And so if men are making you feel like you're too aggressive or being thirsty because you showed them that you're interested, I'm with water, man. I ain't got time. Like, get out of here. We're not a good match. Like, next, just move on.
Move on. And here's the deal, ladies, dating is I call it the mating dance. Okay. And we're not talking about booty shake dance. We're talking about like traditional type dance, like so salsa, tango, ballroom dance, any other kind of dance is very simple. The man leads. And the woman actually has to learn how to actually be led by the man. Mm-hmm. So if the man is not, the man's not leading you and you have to actually lead the man, then you're not dancing anymore. Maybe there's a different type of dance where that happens and I'm not familiar with it, but I would just say that may be what you're experiencing, is that you're trying to take the role over to lead in that mating dance. And, if you do that, you're going to end up with a guy like Wind or Earth who's just like, you should have a conversation with me. Like you come to me and have a conversation. Like,
I'm going to bring this conversation back to the center, to what we were talking about originally, attachment. And at the end of the day, and I say this because fire got a plan to catch. I mean, Earth got a plan to catch. At the end of the day, we all have to ask ourselves, what are we holding on to? And if we have to ask ourselves, if is what we're holding on to, is it healthy or is it unhealthy? And if it's unhealthy, wipe your hands and move on. If you're not clear, wipe your hands and move on. If you're not happy, wipe your hands and move on. Just what Water said.
There you go. I like that answer better. Yeah. Forget that conversation stuff, or at least about that part. Part.
So we got 1 minute.
All right. Let's wrap. Back to attachment. Thank you for bringing us back to center. What's glaringly apparent is that our audience loves talking about relationships, and that a lot of our elementals are our sisters. They're women, and they want to know the mind and the psyche and the pathology of men, and they're able to get it from 4 dudes, single dudes, divorced dudes, married dudes. Like you got a unique smorgasbord of perspective right here, and I respect that. So I wanted to honor their questions. Bringing it back to attachment, my parting words: earth, water, and then we'll send it to wind because wind is up next. Earth's got to fight the catch. I'll keep it quick. Just be aware that you're attached. Know why. Be conscious and cognizant of the emotion that you are feeling inside that attachment, and then ask yourself, is me exuding this emotion, this frequency, healthy or not? Is it going to serve me or not? Because you are the master of everything that you experience as a human being. All your human faculties, you have them, but you are not them. Earth?
Yeah, in regards to attachment and how you navigate attachments, just self-awareness at the end of the day. Self-awareness, situational awareness, all of those things are extremely important. When you gain those things, like life actually goes in slow motion. Like I literally see things like playing themselves out, in the moment. It's not happening like that. It's like it slows down. And then you're clear about, okay, I'm attached to this, so don't want to attach to that. But it's just important to be aware of what you are what you're attached to. That saves your emotions, I promise you. Because generally we're attached to an unfavorable outcome of something a lot of times. So that's all I have to say.
Yeah. What I'd like to add is I think that Fire and Earth brought up good points. I'll just say that I'll share with everyone what I do with myself when I do get my attachments is that I just tell myself, hey, it's okay to be attached to things. It's okay. Because at the end of the day, when I make myself wrong about being attached to something, then it just is a downward spiral. It's just more judgment, more baggage that I'm putting on myself, as opposed to saying, hey, it's okay to be attached. And then to actually follow that, once I actually get real, like I really believe that, because sometimes we say things to ourselves and we don't believe it. But once I actually believe that, I say, okay, now is that something I want to be attached to? And that's how I get back to what I was saying, get back to nothing, get back to zero, even kill, presence, the moment, however you want to say it. That's how I get back there, is I just ask myself that question. Is this something that I would like to be attached to? And sometimes, as Wynn said previously, sometimes I want to be attached to certain things. And that's okay as well. So I'll leave everyone with that. Send it to Wynn.
So next week we have a few guests. We're gonna have a conversation with our elders, and it's gonna be a great conversation. So until then, it'll be next Wednesday. Peace.
Next week, everybody.